Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Lift High the Cross podcast. My name is Ray Sexton, and if you've clicked this video, you know exactly what we're about to talk about. And I know, this is going to be very controversial episode, and so there's a few people who might click this and are like, oh no, wait until I talk about the controversial stuff. I'm going to get angry. I'm not going to listen to this podcast anymore. Or, okay, let's give this a chance. So I'll look into it and like, oh wait, I'm not going to get into this. This is messy. I'm not going to do it. Or, yes, I completely agree with everything Ray says, but I think I'm going to go a step further and I'm going to become a groper. I'm going to become a Nick Fuentes follower. That's what they're called, gropers. And so, yeah, this episode's going to be fun at the same time, a little messy because it's going to be a lot of political discussions. And I've said a lot of times on X before, I want to try to stay away from political discussions most of the time because I don't want this channel to be focused constantly on politics. I don't want this to be a political podcast. I don't want to drive this podcast in the direction of trying to always attack the other side of our country, always attacking people that disagree with me. I don't just going over and over of why I'm right, everyone else is wrong, and going to I want to even that. I want to make it this podcast balanced. I want to be able to talk about any discussion. I want to talk about theology. I want to talk about my journey of being a pastor. I want to talk about politics sometimes. I want to talk about church life, college life, philosophy, anything like that. Because the reason why I called this podcast Lift High the Cross, a few things. One of the reasons why is because I want to spread the gospel, being able to tell people the truth, be able to talk about any problems, issues, controversial problems in life, and be able to enlighten these problems with the gospel through Christ's name, and doing that by lifting high the cross, which is remembering what Christ did on the cross, be able to spread the truth, know the truth, be educated of the truth, and be able to spread that love and encouragement to other people. And so if I'm going to talk about Nick Fuentes, we're definitely going to be encouraged to learn as much as we can about these issues with him, or people that follow him, and why a lot of people have problems with him. So this is going to be a fun podcast, and so we'll get right into it. But first, I wanted to tell everyone, I haven't really publicly said this on my podcast. I've just been saying this on social media and on a couple of posts. I officially have launched my podcast website. It's called lhcpodcast.com, and I launched that so I can post articles, practice sermons, a lot of different writings that I can kind of archive and people can look at. Also, that's another way if you want to watch the podcast. So if you don't like listening on Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, you can listen on the podcast. And the biggest reason why I started the podcast is that I've appreciated everyone that's been able to support the podcast, give any small donations. That is very much appreciated, and I'm very thankful for anyone that's given me any donations, feedback of how I can improve the podcast, or just giving me compliments. It's very much appreciated, and I'm very thankful that people take the time to listen to me of all people. So thank you so much for listening. I've been doing this for about 2 years, on and off, trying to stay consistent, and I think this year around I'm going to be way more consistent. I finally have enough equipment where I can do stuff like this by myself. It doesn't really matter if I'm back at college, back at home, if I'm on vacation. I have enough equipment to do this every week. This upcoming year, I'm going to try to do this twice a week. And if I can't do that, there's still going to be an interview or podcast every Friday going into 2026. So I'm really excited for that. And if you're wanting to help keep this going and help support, I encourage you to go to my website because you're able to, you can pay for subscriptions to help support the podcast. I think we have a few tiers that you can pay from. I think we have 3 right now, and for the podcast, not only you'll be donating monthly, weekly, or if you just want to give a simple donation, you can go into the website and look at it. But if you want to go monthly and pay every month and give a subscription or a membership, I'm offering you guys some benefits and some gifts and rewards for following me and supporting me monthly. I think we have for the few tiers that we have right now, you're able to listen to exclusive content that hasn't been posted yet. On weekly uploads, you'll be able to listen to podcasts that I haven't uploaded yet up to 2 or 3 days before I post it on my YouTube or a Rumble or Spotify. That's probably the best perk that we have right now. You'll be able to watch these episodes that I'll post every single Friday up to 3 days. They'll have tiers where you can listen to 2 days or 1 day before I upload. So different price ranges. If you're wanting to, I think we got tiers up to $10, $15, and then $50, and you also get free merch. I also got merch locked up, so you can look at that on the website as well at lhcpodcast.com. I'm wanting to start this so if people that have helped me in the past and have given me support and tell me that they want to support, I at least want to give something back and use it as a way to thank people and give people more motivation to help keep this podcast going. So when I keep doing this, when I get into ministry and soon start my journey as a pastor, I could use this as a way to keep on going. And while I'm going through that journey, I'm able to still use this platform to help spread the gospel and show people the gift of Lutheranism and the life of a Christian with this podcast. And so I'm very thankful for everyone that's done it. But if you're wanting to start supporting me now, go to lhcpodcast.com, look at the tiers. And of course, if you're wanting to just support me without paying anything at all, go ahead and subscribe or follow wherever you guys are right now. If you're listening to YouTube, Rumble, be sure to follow me. That's another thing too. I started a new Rumble account so I can archive all of my my podcasts and interviews up there, because even though YouTube is a great way to spread or grow my channel, you never know how YouTube is. You see people get kicked out of YouTube all the time for no reason. So I'm going to go to Rumble as well. So if you guys like listening on Rumble and you have subscriptions there, you can go ahead and check me out over there. I think that's it for announcements. So yeah, check out lhcpodcast.com. Check my tiers for memberships and check out the awards and gifts that you can get for supporting me monthly. And yeah, thank you so much for encouraging me to keep this journey going. So thank you so much. Okay, on to the podcast now. Nick Fuentes, who is this guy? So that would definitely be the best way to start, because there's probably a lot of people that watch the show that don't know who Nick Fuentes is. I'm sure if people that follow me or have discovered me or know me through X definitely has an idea of him, because he's everywhere on X. I'm sure there's a good chunk of people that, even though they really just use Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok, they've definitely have seen Nick Fuentes at one point. And even if you're not like watching his videos constantly, or you just see his clips every now and then, you're sure to run into him sometime. So, but a little introduction of who Nick Fuentes is. Nick Fuentes is a conservative political influencer. He's been doing a lot of political shows for the past 10 or 15 years, and he's this very gifted guy. I think he's 26, 28 years old, and he started doing a lot of political shows, and he's gotten deals from certain political platforms. I can't remember on the top of my head, but he's gotten opportunities at a very young age. He started doing shows when he was 18 years old, doing a lot of different things and debating and protesting and doing a lot of shows. And a big thing of how he's kind of started to rise in his fame now or in the last 5 years is because one of his biggest controversial takes right now is he is very, very anti-Israel, in the sense of how when he first started, he started asking questions like, why is America supporting Israel? Why is Israel our number one ally? Why should we do this? And so he's kind of made it a point of why America should be helping people, but if we're not able to take care of our own selves, if we see our country, our city in shambles and ruins, like how a lot of the country that we live in right now is having a lot of issues right now, we don't need to necessarily be constantly focusing on other people. And so, and of course, he makes a lot of claims about how both sides of the political parties are corrupted, and there's also the rabbit trail of talking about super PACs and how political parties are corrupted by parties of Israel and money. And that's also not even jumping on the road of just a lot of political figures like, I'd say, Ted Cruz, definitely Charlie Kirk, Nick Fuentes called him out a lot. How a lot of them were Christian Zionists, and how, I mean, even if they weren't necessarily corrupted, they're in the side of Christianity where people really take a lot of out of context of what the Old Testament talks about past Israel, and they take it into modern day context, and they think we should be supporting Israel. We should be supporting people that live there, even though they're not Christian. We need to be doing everything we can. And if you say anything in the opposite way, you're anti-Semitic. And that's kind of his rise to fame. Of course, he's said a lot of other things that have kind of helped him move up in the political influence, but that's the big reason why Nick Fuentes have gotten big, because he's really trying to open people's eyes of who America is supporting behind the scenes and why we should be questioning everything our political party's doing. I think it's perfectly reasonable that we should always question what our political political parties in power should always be questioning everything they do. Even though I voted for Trump and I despise the Biden administration, I think it's perfectly reasonable to question everything Trump does, just like how I question everything what Biden or Kamala Harris did for 4 years. Just because people that you agree with 80% or 70% of the time is in office, that doesn't mean we shouldn't be constantly looking at what they're doing or questioning it. We don't need to have a blind faith, because every person that runs our country is a human, and as a Christian, we Christians know that everyone's sinful, and so sinners are bound to fail or mess up or lie or cover things up or be corrupted by people or demons or things like that. And so that's why it's very important. We need to be constantly looking at whatever Trump does, even though he's doing a lot of good things. I believe that he is a way better fit of running this country than Biden or Harris or Gavin Newsom. I think a big part of why a lot of people follow Nick Fuentes is because they're really confused and angry of what Trump is doing, or if he's supporting Israel, if he's not doing a good jobs, or he's not opening the Epstein files, and of course, I'm upset about a lot of those things too. But this one of the biggest reasons why I want to talk about this is in the first place is that a lot of these guys that are complaining about this online or in person or anything, it's like, oh, this administration is terrible. This is the worst thing that's happened. I think we're way better off with Kamala. Really, really. I've heard people tell me that in person. I'm like, really, you think Kamala or Biden or Gavin Newsom is a better fit? Really? I mean, the political party needs to be questioned too. Of course, I agree with you, but we don't need to be constantly saying or just not being thankful for what we have right now. What we have right now is an administration, and of course, I'm not in full support of Trump by any means. He's not perfect by any means, but we have a president right now that is against the LGBT movement, and he's been being very clear about things like not letting men be in women's bathrooms, not wanting to do hormone blockers or do surgeries on children who are think they're misgendered, or giving rights to Christians and letting them be able to protest anything or be able to express their faith as they rightly should in this country for free speech. And so we are in a good place right now. I mean, it's not perfect. We have such a long way to go. There's a lot of things that has been damaging to our country that we need to be fixing right now. And Trump is looking into a lot of those problems. He's could be doing a lot better job at it, but in the end, we're in a good spot right now. And so that's one thing I think Nick Fuentes I disagree with, is that he's very anti-Trump. He was pro-Trump before in his first administration, but he's kind of flipped, saying that both sides are not good right now. And so, yeah, that, I mean, I'm sure you can agree that Nick Fuentes thinks that Trump is definitely a better fit. I think so. Kind of a big thing about Nick Fuentes is that he's also a performer. He's extremely talented. He's a great debater. He's a very good show host. He Nick Fuentes, a big thing of how he's gotten really popular and he's making a lot of money or making a big platform right now is, and despite being blocked from Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube for about, I think, or like 2020 or 2021. And so about 5 years, he's been blocked from those accounts, but he still has a huge following. He still has a lot of people giving him hundreds of dollars a week, thousands of dollars a month of him doing those live streams. And if you ever look at those live streams, and I know people hear me saying this, they'll cringe. It's like, why would you encourage to watch Nick Fuentes live streams? I mean, like, don't watch it because you're going to listen to everything he says. I mean, just look at why people like him, and I'm gonna get into a little bit more deep of why people like him in a second. But I mean, just at first glance, like why these 20 to 40 year olds? I'd say that's a safe estimate of the age of people that follow him. I'd say 18 to 40 year olds. Definitely the Gen Z side of it. That's the majority of Gen Z white guys that are listening to him, and I'm sure there's a lot of millennials that listen to him as well. I'm sure there's a lot of girls that listen to him. Well, probably not the majority, but I'm sure there's definitely that. I mean, just if you look at him, I mean, he's really funny. And of course, I mean, a lot of the things that he says is really disrespectful. But I mean, if you get past a lot of the really derogatory or disrespectful things that he says, and even like 2 years ago when he was probably way worse about it, like when he got canceled, I think a lot of guys, when they get canceled, big influencers, they force themselves to be even more derogatory or feel the freedom of it, because definitely during the Biden administration, when people were getting canceled left and right, it was encouraging them to be 10 times more extreme, rightist or conservative than the last time, before they were canceled, because it just gives them motivation to keep going. And if it's being more derogatory or being more hateful, or we're saying a lot of unpleasant things, that'll do it. And that's definitely how he was like 2 years ago. I think he's gotten a little bit better. I mean, he still says stuff on his stream, but that's why he's gotten really popular. I mean, he got canceled for saying a lot of things about Israel, for about race, a lot of race problems that are in the country, a lot of things like that. And so, a lot of people can clearly see that's a lot of problems that we have right now, especially 4 years ago. We had an administration that was telling us, oh, no, we're not having those problems. We're not having those problems. And then constantly just telling the truth, like, hey, we have a lot of messed up things that are going on in our country right now. And so, and so adding to that, being able to spread the truth of a lot of political issues, on top of that, being funny, like, talking like a guy, making guy jokes, and a lot of things, I wouldn't say on my podcast, because a lot of the things he says are really disrespectful, but I can't act like I'm perfect constantly when I'm talking with my mouth. Every guy at one point has said something that they regretted saying, or just joking around with their friends and saying something that may have gone a little bit too far. I think, that's the male mind. We're always wanting to joke around. We're simple people. We want to always laugh and have fun. And even if we're having seriously theology talks or political talks or religion talks, or global problems, we always want to joke about it. Look at comedians from the 90s, 80s, 70s, and how they were always saying very controversial stuff. People that look at Nick Fuentes and see controversial stuff that he says and making a really bad joke. A lot of like A-list celebrities like that were comedians like 20 or 30 or 40 years ago, they said a lot of that too. And I don't know why you can't look at them saying, oh, those guys were hilarious when that stuff was funny at the time. And then look at what Nick Fuentes says and like, oh man, this is messed up. And that also has to do a lot of what society's changed. A lot of even conservative people have swung more into the woke side of saying stuff that you can and can't say, which there's that. But at the same time, all guys want to joke around. We want to have fun. There's definitely needs to be limits. I think all guys want to have fun, but also can go too far. And I think every guy can listen to that. That's why we have our fathers to be constantly look at what we're doing or what we're saying, and able to talk about this, hopefully using keeping Matthew 18 in mind, and be able to talk about things that are okay and what not to say. Even my dad will slip up every now and then and tell me, and so that's what comes with having fun, joking around. It's all fun, but also you need to be careful with what you say, and especially if you're wanting to spread a podcast or a platform with political services, and also um, talking about yourself and what you do and what you believe from a Christian perspective. He's also Catholic. Nick Fuentes is claims to be a Catholic, and so if you're wanting to say that you're a Catholic or a Christian, saying that stuff all the time on your platform is not necessarily the best thing in the world. And so, I mean, but like I said, I mean, I'll slip up and joke around maybe a little bit too far, and I think everyone can agree to that. So. I mean, yeah, but that is one thing. I mean, even though there's a lot of things I might agree with Nick Fuentes, that's probably the biggest thing I have a problem with him, is that he's constantly pushing the limit of being disrespectful. A big thing is he would say the N word a lot a while ago, but I think a lot of people have called out that he's gotten a little bit better at that. But even so, I mean, you'll see the clips go on and on and on, because how society works now is that you take clips of what he says and take it out of context and say, "Oh man, he's saying all these bad things." And so, I mean, even though it's out of context, I mean, it's not necessarily a great thing to say. I mean, Nick Fuentes is also just, I mean, it's kind of funny if you've seen the last 10 years of political figures that have really spawned into the American man. And so probably the next thing I'll talk about is just how, I mean, why do young men like him so much? Why do a lot of males enjoy his streams and what he says? And a lot of that has to do with in the last 8 years or 10 years, there's been a lot of young men that are just thirsty for answers outside of the streamlined social media and people that are just spreading lies. I mean, you have NBC, CNN, Fox, and the political side of it, and then you have Christians that are constantly saying, "I'm right, no, I'm right, I'm right." And even though it's good that we have a lot more people or young men wanting to go into Christian to Christ and go to churches, and that's good. But I mean, they're wanting to have some stability, and so because the rise of the internet and how everyone can have a platform, dummies like me can talk on a camera and try to act like I know what I'm doing, and probably more people will avoid me because they're always like, "What the heck is this kid talking about?" But there's always people like that, and it's really hard to root the weeds and see the good stuff. And then every once in a while in the last 10 years, there's going to be one guy that's going to get really popular because he says a lot of controversial stuff. He's talking about this is what it means to be a man. And so that's when a lot of guys jump on the boat. I mean, you have Jordan Peterson 10 years ago, which, I mean, he's a very intelligent person. A lot of people, he was teaching young boys how to be a gentleman, how to be a man, how to organize their life. And he did a really good job of that. And I appreciate that. Was certainly a good figure if a young man didn't have a father figure in his life or is trying to get his stuff together. And but then that was a big problem for me following him, or every time I would hear people compliment him or Christian always talking about him nonstop, is that, I mean, he's never once said that he's a Christian. He says that he likes God and he's a deist, and he's done these devotions and lectures on Genesis and Exodus, and he's always talking about philosophy of the Bible and a lot of things like that. But I mean, that's one thing that I think a lot of people have caught on with Jordan Peterson, is that he never accepts Christ as Lord, and that's a big problem. And if you're not with Christ, you're against Christ. That's what he said explicitly. And so you can listen to people that aren't Christian. I mean, there's so many people that formed America, or different peoples in time. They're very wise people that have shaped how this world has become. But at the same time, you can't idolize those people. I mean, everyone's is a sinner that needs to submit to Christ. We are imperfect people. We need to be looking to him constantly and not looking to people on this earth constantly. And that was a big problem with Jordan Peterson. That's why a lot of people went to him. And then probably the big guy, arguably maybe when he reached peak popularity, arguably maybe bigger than Nick Fuentes, was Andrew Tate. And I mean, I've talked about him a couple times in the podcast, and a reason why a lot of guys liked him like 4 or 5 years ago is that he was head honcho, masculine, and this was during the Biden administration, and young men were becoming transgender. All this woke ideology was everywhere. And this still happens today, but that was just the constant. Every time you turn on the TV, you'll see Nancy Pelosi or Hillary Clinton or some liberal talk about how white males are the problem in society right now, how white man's toxic masculinity is the problem, and men need to be put in their place. They need to back down. They need to stop all of this. And so that's a big reason why people like Nick Fuentes, because there's that constantly going on right now. And so when Andrew Tate came into the scene, that really exploded the world, because a big thing was he was Muslim. So a lot of Muslim people liked him. And then also his brother was Orthodox. So, like Catholics and Orthodox people were able to jump on that train as well. And then, of course, one of the biggest idolizations of young men right now that are conservative is just being that lone wolf man that doesn't need family. He's able to build himself up into this god and be able to be this strong person who is making millions of dollars every year and becoming this extreme man that knows what he's doing. And that's definitely a problem. The constantly idolizing yourself, and doesn't help that he's a Muslim and he's done a lot of simple things in the past too. He's definitely worse than following Jordan Peterson. If I ever have a son, I would be way happier be listening or reading Jordan Peterson way more than Andrew Tate. Absolutely, I'll take that every day. And then now the big person right now is Nick Fuentes, and I think because there's a big splash in popularity of Catholicism or just conservative Christianity right now, and a lot of young men are sick of how the economy is right now. It's so hard to buy a house or find a good sturdy job. College is expensive than ever, and all these things that are piling on for Gen Z right now, and like this. This is a big part of like every time in society or timeline or generation has a few things that they're always playing the victim card with. And of course liberals are also playing the victim card, but even conservative guys can play the victim card. And what I mean is, like, a big thing right now is because there's a lot of problems with the economy and how everything's so expensive, or taxes are going up, or how it's impossible to buy a house and everything is just doubled. And then at the same time, we're being bombarded by all these mostly Democrats, but also Republicans and conservative people as well, talking about how these white males that are being toxic or against feminism, or that are their toxic masculinity is a big problem, that's sexist or racist or anti-Semitic, and all this is going on. And so they're sick of all this. And so why would they look into all of that when they can look at someone that's constantly making fun of those people? And even though he's constantly making fun of him and going through an approach that I wouldn't go myself, but Nick Fuentes is calling those people out. That's probably the biggest thing I noticed out of Nick Fuentes. He's not afraid of speaking the truth of what all these people have wrong, and he will go to the extreme. And so that's a big reason why Tucker Carlson was popular on Fox for 15 years. He was entertaining. That's the biggest thing. Be entertaining, being able to, if you're entertaining and if you're funny and you're able to call people out in humorous or entertaining way, you're able to suck in people. You're able to get people's attention. You can be a scholar and a genius pastor, but if you're not able to speak well or engage people or get them to listen, you're not going to really make a platform or help people understand something. So that was a big thing for Tucker Carlson. And when he would go on his primetime show on Fox, he blew up the world. There was a reason why he was like the biggest political influencer for a while on TV, and everyone was on the left was constantly trying to make him look bad. It was because he was spreading a lot of truth and trying to call everyone out, and he still does that. And ironically, Nick Fuentes has beef with him, and he thinks he's not doing that. and that's another thing too. I would also recommend people to also help have a better understanding of who Nick Fuentes is and kind of his story, and how a lot of crazy things that happened in his life, and how his 20s were kind of taken away from him. And when he says a lot of things, even though maybe they were slightly unwise, but that doesn't mean they weren't true. A lot of bad things happened to him, like his bank accounts were freezed during the Biden administration when Biden was elected, and he was on the no-fly list, and people were cutting him out of his life. And it's a very interesting story of how, like, for a few years ago, and how his life was just collapsed, and it was because he was just trying to have a free speech platform. And even though he's probably the most arrogant person out there right now, he's just trying to talk. And so, what I would recommend a lot of people is that after you finish this podcast, listen to a lot of podcasts that he's been on. For like only a year. There's still a lot of conservative people that weren't having him on the podcast because he says a lot of disrespectful things, and he says disrespectful people to all of them, because if anyone makes fun of him, he'll call them out. If I was this huge podcaster, which I'm not, and if I'm calling Nick Fuentes right now, he'd probably make fun of me on his stream, call me this gay guy or something. So I don't know. He definitely would he would make up something better on the fly. He's very good at that. But for the past few months, he's been on a lot of big podcasts that have given him a chance to talk about his life and a lot of other things. And I think what's really cool about when you have guys that are sharp, smart, entertaining, being able to express their opinions on a lot of things in a very fair way, especially if they're on another platform, they'll tone down a little bit. There's a big difference between Nick Fuentes when he's on his show and he's just being funny and he's talking with his bros and his guys, and he's joking around. But I mean, he really tones it down a lot when he's on this podcast. I mean, that doesn't make him justify a lot of what he says, but I mean, you can definitely. It's a lot easier to see where he's coming from. And he was on Candace Owens' podcast, which, I mean, that podcast wasn't great. I mean, mostly it was just them talking about past beef that isn't really relevant now. But he was on the Patrick David show. He was on Jack Neal. I was listening to that this morning. Oh, that was pretty good. I didn't finish it, but it was really good. He was also on Tucker Carlson a few weeks ago. A lot of good podcasts. I'll put all these podcasts in the link in my description on YouTube, Spotify. So wherever you are, you can listen to it and check it out for yourself. I mean, even though if you despise Nick Fuentes and disagree, and even though you see things that you do agree with, but you just can't get the fact that he says all these terrible things, so you can't really put your head around it. I'm at least hear the guy out. I think that's definitely helped me see a lot of his point of views and see where he's coming from. Definitely of a lot of things that have happened in his life, which is very interesting. Especially how guys like Patrick David, I think, does a good job of calling out a lot of things that he could be doing a lot better. I mean, be this conservative guy that's claiming to be Catholic and conservative, but be conservative and a Catholic. I mean, tell people to reform in a respectful way. And if you say that you're Catholic, be Catholic, and don't don't prove people's point why you're a terrible person by acting like a terrible person. I mean, be smarter than that. And so I think that, I mean, if you're going to listen to any of the podcasts, listen to Jack Neal's interview with him, Tucker Carlson's interview, and Patrick David's interview. I'll definitely put those 3 episodes in the link. And I would say, I mean, and then I'll say this again. I mean, of course, there's a lot of things that I disagree with them. I don't, just like anyone that's political or Christian, I don't agree with them 100%. I'd say another big thing is that even though, I mean, oh yeah, he makes a lot of racist jokes, and I mean, doesn't mean half of them. That doesn't mean you should be saying that. But I mean, and that's another big thing. He'll also make a claim is that he wants to marry a white person. He doesn't want to be married to anyone that's not in his ethnicity. He thinks that that's not good. I think that's one thing he's made very clear, even though it looks like he's joking about it. That is one thing that he is very serious about, aside, and also from like things that he says about Israel. And that's one thing I'll definitely say that, I mean, that's not okay. I mean, that also puts, draws the line of saying that people in this world should be divided, like we're different. That's absolutely not true. I think you should be able to be free to marry. I mean, even though if there's culture swings and differences that keep from that, I mean, that doesn't mean good people shouldn't marry each other because they're from different ethnicity. That's just a silly thing to say. I mean, if you want to marry a white girl, I mean, good for you. I mean, but that shouldn't be a point of view as a Christian. I mean, that's messed up to say. We're all made in the image of God, and that doesn't take, and because of that, anyone can marry each other. A man and woman can marry each other. Let's make that clear. A man and woman, a true Christian marriage. Any man and woman can marry each other. I'll make that clear. And yeah, I'll say one more time. I mean, the biggest thing I have a problem with them is just loving your neighbor. I mean, it's good that he's wanting to spread a lot of truths and a lot of good ideas and try to make people think. But I mean, that also comes down to just being loving to your neighbor. I mean, it's impossible to do that if you're not being loving to your neighbor. Being wise what you say is impossible. Even though Nick Fuentes, he's not a theology professor by any means. I mean, that's definitely for sure. I think that's a good move of him being that conservative influencer while also just having the Catholic identity and not just being a full-blown Catholic. Because if he was like really pushing his Catholicism way more than he is right now, I mean, he'd get exposed pretty fast. And but I mean, that's also a pretty easy move, because I mean, just like a lot of conservatives are wanting to have a good idea of having a structured church and still have your individual freedoms. I mean, and have all this power through Christianity. I mean, it's easy to look through that through the Catholic Church, because Catholic Church is all about order, instruction, not just from the Bible, but also from the leadership of the church and the church itself. And that's why a lot of Catholics love him, or that's why Nick Fuentes likes Catholicism a lot. And so he also doesn't have a good idea on Protestantism. I mean, he'll be that guy and he'll be talking about how there's 10,000 different Protestant denominations, how they're all the same. He obviously doesn't have a good idea of Lutheranism. I think that'd be really cool if I ever bumped into him in Chicago. That's where he lives. If I bumped into Chicago, I'd love to have a theology conversation with him. That'd be awesome. If I ever got a chance, I would love to, that'd be awesome if I could have coffee with him and just like, what do you think about Lutheranism? I mean, we have the Eucharist, we have the gifts that the church provides us through God's word and faith. And so what are your thoughts about that? That's definitely different through Protestantism. There's definitely, the word Protestantism just gets thrown around really bad among Protestants, but also Catholics and Eastern Orthodox really bad. To say that Lutherans are the same of this 5th generation Baptist, I mean, that's absurd. But I guess if you're not Catholic, you're a sinful being that's probably going to go to hell or be in purgatory for 1,000,000 years. So I guess there's that. So fair enough. Yeah. And so, and the biggest thing I want to get out of this podcast is that Nick Fuentes right now is a big influence for young men right now. And if I would be able to have a huge platform, or if I had kids that were listening to him, would I be encouraging them to listen to him? Probably not. I would, just because you see this clip that he says really funny and there's a lot of things you agree with him, even though you don't fully agree with him, would that make him a good role model as a young man? No, I would say no. And so I would strongly suggest that you can take good ideas, good ideology, good values from anyone. If anyone's able to spread a lot of truths, especially from Christ, and be able to show that, which I mean, I would say Nick Fuentes, if you can take anything good out of him, it's mostly just from conservative values and not Christ values. Because I mean, there's a lot of limited things that are very Christ-like about him. I mean, it is wonderful that he talks about things like he's saving himself for marriage, and even though he thinks that he's not going to get married anytime soon, he says that he's waiting for marriage. He's waiting for marriage. He believes in the value of a Christian family and the family that's structured by God, man and women becoming wife and husband and having families. And that's one of the biggest gifts that God has given us, your creation of life, being able to create life. And that's also wonderful things that you can take out of Fuentes. He's always constantly encouraging young men to have families. And so, I mean, that's wonderful. But then again, I'll definitely would like to have those conversations with my son more than letting him hear that from Nick Fuentes. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. Definitely the big things that people need to look out for Nick Fuentes. I mean, this is definitely more of a more simple take on him, not really going deep into a lot of things that he says. You can go down the rabbit hole and find so many different videos of what he says of disrespectful stuff, or like things that he says is smart. But I really just want to make this podcast to make clear of like just I mean, just like anyone, I mean, even if you find a guy that's way more calm and collective than him, I mean, sure. I mean, still look at him the same way as Nick Fuentes. Just because he has a couple of values you like, don't idolize him. Don't constantly look at it. And so I did an episode where I talk about red pill influencers like Jordan Peterson and Andrew Tate. And at the time, that was what all the young men were wanting to follow because that was cool. And so if once Nick Fuentes starts losing popularity and the next big guy that's says he's Catholic and he's really extreme and narcissist, and I'm like, I'll just make a podcast to him and talk about this. It'll probably be the same thing, just going through little tidbits of his life and why I agree, disagree, or not think that he's a great influence because he's not Jesus. Just that's it. I mean, definitely. Yeah. I just anyone in this world. I mean, even if it's Jordan Peterson or Dr. Jordan Cooper or Brian Wolfmueller, very smart, very wise, calm and collective Lutheran figures that have done a lot of wonderful things of spreading the gospel and giving good rooted Lutheran theology, confessional Lutheran theology for people that are able to discover Lutheranism. And that's amazing. A lot of great work that they've done with their writings and books and podcasts, which is fantastic. But they would, if I was having a conversation with them right now on this podcast, they would say, despite of all the things that I've done, just don't put the focus on all these things on me. Focus it on Christ. So don't look at my writings and give me the credit. Give Christ the credit. Everyone, men like him, are spreading the gospel, wanting to spread wisdom and things like that because that's what Christ has taught them. And so that's also probably the biggest thing I would say. I mean, Nick Fuentes, even though he has a lot of great values and smart things to say, you need to be trying to push all of those things in the direction of Christ. He'll say that, but he's not doing it. And so that's what I would say for Nick. I mean, be more humble. I mean, as Jesus was. I mean, it's really easy to start a huge platform of saying that we need to attack this side because they disagree with us and they're poisoning our society. And even though that may be true, I mean, that's not Christ's approach at all. Being aggressive, either physically or emotionally, or just saying it online. And even though there's some of them are worse than others, I mean, in the end, they're all in the same boat of not following Christ's teachings. Follow the gospel, be able to spread conservative values that are inspired by Christ's words in the best of your ability, but do it in a humility, calm, loving way to your neighbor. That's the only way we're going to do this. I will always be on this podcast, and I will always say that Judaism is evil, Islam is evil, Hinduism is evil, Buddhism is evil, Mormonism is evil, Jehovah's Witness is evil. Catholicism, no, I'm kidding. No. Just kidding. But even though those things are rooted by the devil, that doesn't mean we need to look at these people and look at them and say they're Satan. I mean, some of them might be Satan's spawn. I mean, they might be doing the works of Satan, but that doesn't mean we should be hateful to them. Their souls, Christ died for them. We need to be putting them in the right direction. Being hateful and derogatory to those people is not going to be the best way to help them see the light of Christ. I mean, it just isn't. I mean, ever since the dawn of Christ, I mean, there's always people that are pushing Christianity down people's throats, either physically or attacking people, and that's not the right way. It never is. I mean, we always need to be thinking that whatever Christ puts us in our situation, we always need to be looking in the log in our eye and looking at our faults and sins and being able to look at it and repent, knowing that He's forgiven us, and we need to show that and show it to those people every time. And that's the true way. So, that's about it. So thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. I appreciate you listening to me. I'm excited to keep this weekly podcast upload going. It's definitely gotten a lot easier now that I have enough equipment to do this. And so, like I said in the beginning of the podcast, don't forget to look at lhcpodcast.com. Look at the tiers for the podcast monthly subscriptions. Look at the perks of it, which is watching podcasts up to 3 days early. Look at price discounts from merch through those monthly subscriptions, and look at all the benefits. And if you're ever wanting to contact me for an interview or podcast, or just have a question, just go to that website. I'm gonna be instead of using DMs, emails, here on out, I'm gonna start having people, if they have any questions or podcast invites, to use my website. So that'll be the easiest way to contact me. I'm not going to use any other social media platforms for that. So thank you guys so much. I'll see you guys next Friday, and God bless.